isa sa pinakamakulit sa GC namin sa micro. And I also see Gail Ann Cruz. Oh, bakit nag-off-cam ka, Gail? Ha? Ganda-ganda mo pala. Okay. Alam mo, Gail, I know you kasi isa ka sa pinakamabilis matapos mag-exam. Mataas, ha? Para naman ako nasa langit nito. Sandali, para ako masyadong maputi. Ano? Hash your hands. Am I too white here? Masyadong masyadong katatapos lang daw na resurrection eh. Nang ano pala?
You look great po.
Thank you. Okay. So siya, ha? I look great eh. Okay, so anyway, sige. We'll start. The cerebrum. Is the audio okay? It's fine.
Yes po, okay po.
Thank you, your hands. Thank you. Okay. It's a good thing. They have this here. Itong slide na to sa slides go. I'll go, wow, perfect. No? For the brain. Okay. So may mga pumapasok pa. Hindi nyo naman mamimiss masyado. For this afternoon, good afternoon, section B. I'm welcoming you to the final period of micro. What's that? Sorry. Nasa opisina kasi ako, syempre. Okay. So we will discuss the external and the internal features of the cerebrum, the components of the cerebrum, and some disorders of higher cerebral function. To start off, remember class, this is the brain. Everything is in it. No? And you're done with the diencephalon. Remember the diencephalon? Who will forget that or forget the diencephalon? So sobrang hirap ng diencephalon. No? So it includes the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the pineal gland. We've also taken up already in the midterms the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla, collectively known as the brainstem. Done also is the discussion about the cerebellum. The cerebellum, that structure that suffers so much of its parts. No, names ng mga parts niya. Okay. And also we're done with the spinal cord. So for today, we will be discussing the largest part of the brain, which is the cerebrum. Okay. Now the cerebrum, being the largest part, is composed of the right and the left hemispheres. And it is connected in the middle by this large mass of white matter that is called corpus callosum. Okay, so nandun siya, and this cerebrum is encased or found in the anterior and middle cranial fossa. Okay, so it is divided, each hemisphere, as you will see, is divided into lobes. Okay. Now, these are the functional areas. The functional areas of the cerebrum could be anatomical, which is called lobes, and the functional we will take up the Brodmann's classification. Now, the lobes of the cerebrum, each cerebral hemisphere has 4 lobes, no? And that, as you can see, they are named after the bones that cover them. You have the frontal lobe here, and then the parietal lobe, temporal, and the occipital lobe. Okay, napakadali lang yan, no? Sana ganyan lang palagi ang topic natin sa neuro. Now, the lobes of the cerebrum, as I have mentioned, these are 4, and actually there are 5, no? Those that are very obvious here are these 4 lobes. And the frontal lobe is generally as the seat for motor activities and also for mental activities. And then the parietal is actually more of the somesthetic, okay, also known as sensory or somatosensory areas. Occipital for vision and temporal for hearing center. Dr. Tumanig is here. Hindi ka nakikita pero kumakaway siya sa inyo. Okay, anyway, the cerebral cortex is the highest level of the central nervous system and always functions in association with the lower centers. Okay, so the cerebral cortex receives vast amounts of information and responds in a very precise manner by bringing about appropriate changes. Okay, and many of these responses are actually influenced by inherited programs, no? Inherited programs, whereas others, as it is stated here, it is colored by, ganda ng pagkasabi sa libro, it is colored by programs that are learned on and during an individual's life. Okay, so yung lahat yan, no? They are stored in the cerebral cortex. Now, and clinical pathologic studies in humans, and then we also have electrophysiologic and ablation studies in animals. All have produced evidence that the different areas of the cerebral cortex are functionally specialized. Okay? Now let's take up the different parts of the cerebral of the cerebrum in terms of the gray and white matter. Okay, so the cerebrum consists of the cerebral cortex. So the cerebral cortex is this outer rim of gray matter. Okay, that is found here superficially in the cerebrum. So that is one part, no? The cerebral cortex. So ito class, yan nagsisurround dyan at the outer portion or at the surface of the cerebrum is called the cerebral cortex, also known as the cerebral gray matter. Now, within that is what we call an internal region of white matter. So, ang tawag dyan, that is the cerebral white matter. Embedded in the white matter is another group or masses of gray matter that is embedded in white matter, and you call it the basal nuclei. Dati, it was formerly known as the basal ganglia, but it is such a misnomer, no? So you don't call it basal ganglia anymore. It's called the basal nucleus or nuclei. These are large masses, again, of gray matter, yan, no? That is embedded within this white matter. Okay. So the white matter is actually a core of the central core of the hemisphere. So this is white matter, and it appears white because of the myelin sheath that surrounds the fibers here. But aside from myelinated, we also can find unmyelinated fibers in the white matter. Okay. Now, speaking of white matter, there are three different types of white matter. First off are the commissural, or also known as commissure fibers. And these fibers, they connect corresponding regions of the two hemispheres. And the most important, or the largest of these commissural fibers is what we call the corpus callosum. We also can find other examples here, the anterior, posterior commissures. We have the fornix and the habenular commissure. But we will be taking up and discussing the corpus callosum, since it is the largest of the commissures of the brain. It has four parts, from anterior to posterior. This is the rostrum, the genu, the body, and the splenium. No? Napag-usapan na ata ninyo kanina yan sa laboratory. I think, later pa pala. So what is the function of the corpus callosum? It transfers information from one hemisphere to the other. Okay? So it is very essential in learning discrimination, sensory experience, and memory. Okay? Now, the second type of fibers of cerebral white matter are the association fibers. If the commissural fibers are between hemispheres, ito namang association fibers is within the same hemisphere. Okay? So these nerve fibers are essentially the ones that connect between various cortical regions pero within the same hemisphere siya. And then an example that we have here is the cingulum. It connects, ano raw yung cingulum? It connects between the frontal and the parietal lobes within the same hemisphere. Okay, so walang crossing over yan. Okay, and then another type, the last type of cerebral white matter is called the projection fibers. And the projection fibers naman, they pass from and to the brainstem up to the cerebral cortex. An example here is the corona radiata. Okay? So madali lang yan, mga cerebral white matter fibers lang. Generally, there are three again. We have commissural, connects two hemispheres, and then we have the association that is within the same hemisphere, and projection fibers from the brain to the cerebral cortex. Okay? So far, so good, I believe. Tango ka naman dyan, Gail. Ikaw nakikita ko na, tsaka Sir Hans. Okay. So, the cerebral features, so we have here the gyri, fissures, and sulci. Ay, yan ang pronunciation niya na, hindi yan sulci. Because what is the singular form of this one? Sulci. Diba? Sulcus, hindi naman natin sinasabi sulsus. Diba? So, this one, nung college ako, up to when I became a medical student, my professors called it sulci. Sinerch ko, hindi pala naman. I've been living a lie. So it's called sulci. Okay? Now, the cerebral cortex rolls, diba? It rolls, it folds upon itself, no? So that it can fit into the cranial cavity. So the folds are what we call, in singular form, gyrus, and then plural form, gyri. So these are what we call the elevated ridges. Yung sinabi ko sa inyo, rolls and folds na yan. Now the deep grooves between these folds are what we call fissures. And the shallow ones are called sulci or sulcus. An important shallow groove is the central sulcus or the central sulcus of Rolando. So class, ito yung mga folds, no? So this is an example. This is the way a sulcus looks like, no? Medyo shallow siya compared to fissures. Ito, this is a fissure. And as you can see, this is cerebral gray, within is cerebral white matter. So these are different cerebral fissures and sulci. We have here the longitudinal fissure that divides between the two cerebral hemispheres, transverse between the big brain and the small brain. So that's between the cerebrum and the cerebellum. Lateral sylvian fissure, okay? You can also call it as sylvian fissure or sylvian fissure, lateral fissure. Pwede type anything, no? Basta nando yung terms of sylvian or lateral fissure. But the most important thing is, what does it divide between what types of lobes, no? It divides the temporal from the frontal and parietal lobes. Now, the central sulcus of Rolando will be very important as our landmark, no, in identifying the different parts of the cerebrum. So it separates the parietal from the frontal lobe, and also we have the parieto-occipital fissure, which separates the parietal from the occipital lobe. So madaling tandaan siya, no? Parieto-occipital fissure between parietal and occipital lobes. Okay, this picture will just show us or demonstrate to us the different sulci, no? And fissures. Please review and just look at them. Okay. Now, the functional areas of the cortex may either be primary or pwede rin siya association areas. The primary cortical areas could be, they have similar function, symmetrical function. And then there's a primary area for motor, a primary area for somatosensory or sensory. And then there are primary areas at the same time for vision. There's also for hearing, for taste and smell. And another area is generally called association areas. And this is for higher processing of the primary cortical areas. Okay, so these are the specialized area of the cerebrum. So the primary motor area is this portion here. The premotor area is in front of the primary, and so on. Okay. Let's go to the Brodmann's classification. One time during 1909, may mga kwento pa ganyan. A German physicist or a German scientist known as Dr. Corbinian Brodmann studied the cerebrum based on what we call cytoarchitectural structure. Pag hinimay mo yung term na cytoarchitectural, it means lang histology. So based on the groups of the cells, no, iba-ibang cells na they are grouped together, and he was able to define the different Brodmann areas. Okay, ready na ba kayo dito? Ito na siya. Okay, so ito, kita nyo, ang daming Brodmann areas. Ang dami naman yan, Dok. Meron pa kami biochem, may physio pa kami. Papa-memorize mo sa akin yan. No? Actually, yes and no. We will just be knowing the different important areas of the brain depends on their function. And I've actually uploaded with this lecture the 3 tables of the Brodmann numbers, more Brodmann area numbers, okay? So the first table will look like this, no? We have Brodmann area on the left and their functions on the right. And as you've noticed, class, I have highlighted with yellow the different areas here. These are just the areas that I want you to know. The rest na hindi ko hinighlight, wag na muna natin pakialaman yan. No? Hindi ko na siya babanggitin. I will not talk about it anymore. I will just give a bird's eye view of what the cerebrum, the ones that are important at this level for you now. Okay? So in this table, ito lang alamin ninyo. Brodmann area 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and then we have 8, 9, and so on. Kung ano man itong naka-highlight dito. Next table, look at that. I just highlighted 1, which is Brodmann area 22. And this part is very important because it is considered as part of the Wernicke's area. Okay, and the last table that I have given to you is this one. So ito naman yung mga areas na in-highlight ko. Okay na ba sa inyo yan? Okay ba yan? Ha? Tao naman kayo. Gising pa ba kayo? O baka naman lethargic na? Ha? Anyway, so let's go to the frontal lobe. Medyo mahaba ang usapin ng frontal lobe. Okay. So this is the cerebrum based on Netter. Okay, sa Netter ko to kinuha tong picture nito. And as you can see, the first thing to know, no, our landmark to know where the frontal lobe is, yes, you guessed it right. It's supposed to be the central sulcus of Rolando. Kaya sinabi ko sa inyo, it will be used as a landmark to define whether this is frontal, is this parietal, is this temporal. Okay? So the central sulcus of Rolando is this line here. How did I know? I just know. So we have here, from that point, actually the central sulcus of Rolando could also be found in the medial portion of the cerebrum. Okay? But then that central sulcus of Rolando will not touch the lateral sylvian fissure here. Okay? So between this one and this one, I will choose this one. Ito, makikita nyo na meron talagang gyrus at the posterior portion, another gyrus in front of it. So this is central sulcus of Rolando. Okay, may one part na kayong alam. Now in front of that or anterior to that is this portion. The whole structure here in front is what we call the frontal lobe. Now the frontal lobe has a gyrus here known as, di ba central to? This is the pre-central gyrus. Okay, easy, right? Pre, in front of the central sulcus. So you call that the pre-central. So this is a gyrus. So this is named as pre-central gyrus. Now in front of that, more anterior to that, is these portions here. From that point up to this point here, gyrus na yan, that is what we call the superior frontal gyrus. Okay, superior, nasa taas, frontal gyrus. After that, underneath that is a middle portion. So that is the middle frontal gyrus. Okay? And a more important structure here, that is the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay? Again, central sulcus of Rolando. Sabayan nyo na lang ako kahit naka-mute kayo. Okay? So we have here the sound. Nawawala yung aking central sulcus of Rolando. And in front of that, pre-central gyrus. And in front of this, anterior to it, we have here the superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and the inferior frontal gyrus. We don't stop with that. Okay. Let us define now the 3 parts of the inferior frontal gyrus. Why do we have to do that? No? Because it is a very important. Okay? Now, we divide it into 3 parts. And in fact, it's called pars, no? So yung pars na yan means part. The first part is this one, this area here. Yan. It is very near the orbit. Remember class, ito yung forehead na eh. Ito na yung harapan na yan, anterior portion. So this portion here is very near the orbits. So we call it pars orbitalis. Now it makes a turn and continues as an inverted triangle. So what do we call that? Pars triangularis. Okay? Now, memorize nyo na, no? Diba? No? And then, it closes. Yan, no? Sumara. And it appears like the Greek letter na OM. OHM. Ewan ko kung alam nyo yun, no? OHM, right? No? So that's a Greek letter, OM. It's an operculum, a structure that closes. So you call that pars opercularis. Okay? So meron namang ano yung mga terms na yan, may pinanggalingan sila. And if you see fresh specimens such as this one, yan no, nigay ko sa inyo, no? Look at this one. Mukha siyang inverted triangle talaga. Kita niyo to? Ito mukhang om siya. This is the orbital part here. But anyway, let's go back to the picture. So again, class, superior, middle, inferior, frontal lobes. And the inferior lobe is made up of three parts. The pars orbitalis, which is very near the orbit, makes a inverted triangle, which is called now the pars triangularis. And it makes like this one, a shape of a Greek letter, the om, no? So you call that the pars opercularis. Okay? Very important later on. Now, I just gave you this para ma-identify ninyo, no? Sa specimen kung ano yung mga different parts na yun. So the central sulcus of Rolando is actually this one that is being pointed to. Ito, yan, central sulcus of Rolando yan. And then that is the superior, middle, inferior. Okay? Itong part na to, medyo masyadong corrugated itong brain na to. This part is the precentral gyrus here. And as you can see, this orbitalis, then we have an inverted triangle here, triangularis, and then this one is pars opercularis. Okay? So pag in-encircle yan, identify the whole structure. So that's the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay. Now, this is the middle portion. I've just identified very few parts here. The central sulcus of Rolando could actually be observed also in this portion. And then this one, the paracentral lobule, the marginal sulcus is here. And this one is the paracentral sulcus. So yung apat lang yan. But then in the laboratory, there will be other parts that will be shown to you. Okay. So again, class, this is the right side of the brain. This is the left side. Okay, hanapin nyo na lang dyan. Which is which. Mas maganda kasi when I give you something, di ba, mas maganda mag-aral yung wala ng mga parts na ganyan so that you can answer on your own. Okay. Now, let us go to the major Brodmann area in the frontal lobe. We have first this portion here. Again, central sulcus of Rolando. Nasaan class? Ito, oh. Okay? So, dyan. Ito. Now, the central sulcus of the Rolando is the landmark, and in front of that, the whole yellow area is the frontal lobe. Immediately in front of the central sulcus of Rolando is what we call the precentral gyrus. And it is named as, or numbered as Brodmann area number 4, which is also known as the primary motor area. Okay? So may alam na kayong Brodmann area. No? Alam nyo, dali naman pala eh. Brodmann, BA4 is the primary motor area. Ito lang ang tandaan ninyo. No? When we speak of lesions of the cerebrum, it is always contralateral. The effect will be contralateral. So any lesions that will affect the right side of the brain will affect the left side of the body. It's so different from the cerebellum. The cerebellum kasi ipsilateral siya. Okay? No? With the cerebrum, it is contralateral. So, contralateral movements of what? voluntary muscles. Produces isolated movements on the other side naman. So, class, if electrically stimulated, no, it produces isolated movements on the opposite side of the body, as well as contraction of muscle groups that are concerned with the performance of specific voluntary movements. Okay. Now, aside from that, no, so tandaan ninyo ha, that's the general rule. Contralateral. And always remember, isolated ipsilateral do not occur. Isolated ipsilateral movements do not occur. However, bilateral movements of the following can occur. Apat lang to tatandaan niyo. Okay? Pang multiple choice lang yan, a question. So we have the movements of what? No? Extraocular muscles, muscles of the upper part of the face, tongue, and mandible, the larynx, and the pharynx. Okay, muscles ang pinag-uusapan natin dito. Okay, so again, bilateral movements of the following occur. Extraocular muscles, muscles of the upper part of the face, the tongue, the mandible, larynx, and the pharynx. Remember, contralateral, no ipsilateral, bilateral may happen. Did you get that? No? So ito lang yung exemptions. Okay? So that is for the primary motor area, Brodmann area, number 4. Still with the primary motor area, okay? But note that it is not responsible, this area is not responsible for the design or the pattern of movement. However, it is the final station for the execution of the movement. Okay? So siya magsasabi, sige na, galaw mo. Okay, pero contralateral. Now, this is the motor homunculus of the precentral gyrus. Probably you've encountered this already, no, in some books. This is actually the precentral gyrus that has been cut into half. Makikita natin dito that there are different parts of the body here. So what does this say? No? The movement areas of the body are represented here in an inverted form, no? In the precentral gyrus. Starting from below, we have here, no? Passing superiorly. So from below going up. And we can see here some areas that are involved in swallowing. Okay? What are these parts? It could involve the tongue, the jaw, the lips, no? So it goes up like that. So these are the representations. The next area is an extensive area, especially of the fingers, of the hand. Yon, no? So we have the thumb being represented in a very large area, the hand. And then followed by this area here, the arm, the trunk, the leg. And as you can see, the medial portion represents the foot. But what is this telling us? No? That the movements, this area in the cortex, nakalagay dito yung note, no? Controlling a particular movement is proportional to the skill that is involved in performing that movement. And it is unrelated to the mass of the muscle. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Let's say the hand, it is well represented. A large portion of the brain is represented here, although the hand is just a small portion of the body. However, compared to the muscle mass of the trunk, the legs, the arms, comparing it to the hand, this is actually very large, but then represented in just a small area of the gyrus. Kasi itong hand performs, or it is more skilled compared to these parts that have larger muscle mass. Di ba yung hands natin, very skilled yan, yung thumb lang, yung index finger. So it is represented much here, or it has an area of greater representation in the precentral gyrus, no? So it doesn't matter kung malaki yung muscle mass na yon. Kaya lang, mas skilled yung hand. Diba? So it is represented well here in the precentral gyrus. areas. Okay, let's go back again to the mga BA na natin sa mga Brodmann areas. Now, the secondary motor area, also known as Brodmann area number 6. Yan, katabi. Okay, so this one class include, let's say, it says here, premotor cortex is Brodmann area 6, and some parts of 8. We also can include 44 and 45. So yan is what we call the secondary motor area. Okay. Now the secondary motor area, it involves muscular movements similar to those of the primary area. Yun lang yun. Okay. And then class, mayroong mga overlap sa mga functions ng mga Brodmann areas na yan. In fact, no, may tinatawag pa tayong secondary motor area. Yun na ngayon, Brodmann area 6 and some parts of 8 and 44 and 45. It stores program of motor activity assembled as a result of past experiences. Plus, for example, natuto kang ano ba yung mga motor activity na from past. Let's say, tinuruan kang mag-step to the right or mag-run, siguro mga ganyan na mga nakastore yan sa memory natin na hindi mo inaaral everyday. Nakastore na siya in the brain. Okay? Kaya yung pagtayo mo ng posture na ganyan. Now, supplementary motor cortex, it is also found in Brodmann area 6. But then, the stimulation results in movements of the contralateral limbs, and a stronger stimulus is necessary to produce movement. Okay? Yun lang ang tawag sa kanya, supplementary motor cortex. It is also found in Brodmann area number 6. What about the frontal eye fields? Dito yan sa portion na yan. It includes, again, 6, 8, and 9. Itong portion na yan. The frontal eye field is, it controls voluntary scanning movements of the eye. Diba, gumagalaw yung eye, ng eyes natin without visual stimuli. Doesn't matter. Basta gagalaw yung mata without visual. Anything that is shown, kahit ano pa siya, basta gumagalaw yung mata. Diba? Kahit na walang sense of sight, pwedeng gumalaw yung mata. Okay? So that is what we call, that area is what we call the frontal eye field. Remember, class, it is independent of visual stimuli. Okay, oy, Brodmann area. Class, ito. Based on what I have just told you a while ago, the Broca's area is 44 and 45. Without looking at the picture, dapat pala hindi ka nalagyan ng picture. The Broca's area is located at the opercular and triangular parts of the inferior frontal lobe. Na-picture niyo na sa mind niyo? Saan yung opercular? Saan yung triangular part na yan? Diba? Kasi kanina, in-emphasize ko, because that area, this Brodmann area 44 and 45, is very important and it is known as Broca's area. And Broca's area is responsible for motor speech. Ibig sabihin nun, talak ako ng talak nito, galaw ng galaw ako, no? So that has something to do with my Broca's area being intact. Because I am able to talk, I am able to articulate to you, no? Because it uses, the Broca's area has connections with the adjacent primary motor areas that have something to do with the muscles of the larynx, the mouth, the tongue, the soft palate, the respiratory muscles, anything that has something to do with talking. Okay, so this is what we call the Broca's area, also known as Brodmann area 44 and 45. And if you will speak anatomically, that is found in the areas where that is the opercular and triangular part of the inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, so pag natandaan nyo na yan, ayan siya. That's 44 and 45. Mali yung pagkulay dapat ito. Okay, so the lesion in the Broca's area is called expressive or motor aphasia. Hindi ka maka-express. Hindi ka makasalita. Kasi nga, nasira yung motor speech. No? Okay. What about the prefrontal cortex found between it includes Brodmann area 9 to 12. No? So this one class, it is concerned, it is concerned with, sabi ko nga nung nagme-medicine ako, yan ang aking mnemonic dyan, MRI, memory, reasoning, intelligence. No? It is concerned with the makeup of the individual's personality. Yung frontal lobe natin. Area 9 up to 12. Okay? This area is also involved in the regulation of the person's depth of feeling. So that is the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal. Nasa harap na siya. Okay, so that is what we call Brodmann area 9 to 12. What about the orbitofrontal? Orbit na, malapit na dito sa area na yan. No? So it's orbitofrontal. This area is the site of frontal lobectomies dati. Nung panahon pa ng mga Nazis yan, mga Germans, no? Frontal lobectomy is being done to diminish, to have this following effects, no? Diminished rage, decreases aggression, for poor emotional response. Kasi this is being done for persons who are mentally deranged. Yan, mga states, mga ganyan, no? So, I would just like to share to you something nice to know, no? During that time, mga 1940s, yung mga early parts noon, frontal leucotomy and frontal lobectomy are being done. Okay? Ano yan? So, when you say leucotomy, cutting the fiber tracts in that area, or could do lobectomy, removal of the frontal lobe. Imagine yung wala kayong frontal lobe, no? But anyway, that is being done for schizophrenic patients, yung mga depressed patients, yung mga ginawa ito as experiments at sa mga jailed people, which is unethical. Anyway, moving forward, because of the effective tranquilizing and mood-elevating drugs that are already available, this is not being done anymore. Obsolete na siya. Okay? Okay. So we're done now with the frontal lobe. Makapagod ang frontal lobe, no? Bayaan yung class. Maikli na ngayon to. Parietal lobe and the rest of the lobes. Okay, let's go to the parietal lobe. Now, the parietal lobe, again, class, asan dito ang central sulcus of Rolando? Identified. So this one. Okay. So it says here that the parietal lobe is posterior. Asan ang posterior? Remember, this is anterior, ha? Okay? So this area that is posterior to the central sulcus of Rolando is what we call the parietal lobe. Okay? It extends up to this portion here. That is what we call the parieto-occipital sulcus. Dito sa portion na yan. The parieto-occipital sulcus is more or less better observed in the medial portion. Huh? What is the function of this area? It is for it senses and it integrates sensations. It is important also for spatial awareness. Class, hindi yan spatial na. Okay? We don't pronounce that as spatial. It's called spatial. Why is it called spatial? It is actually an awareness of the body or the body parts in space. Okay? Proprioception. No? So, yan yun. Diyan yung makikita sa parietal lobe. Okay. Now, these are the different parts. So, we have this as the post-central gyrus kasi this is the central sulcus of Rolando. We have the superior parietal lobule in this portion here. Intraparietal sulcus. This whole area is called the inferior parietal lobule. And underneath that, it contains or it includes these two gyri here. We have the supramarginal gyrus. Paano nyo matatandaan to? Supramarginal gyrus trace the lateral sylvian fissure. And at the end of that, we can identify there, can find there the supramarginal gyrus. Okay? Trace nyo yan. Trace nyo to. Okay? Pag yung nasa dulong-dulo niyan, that's supramarginal gyrus. Okay. Now, what about the angular gyrus? At the end of the superior temporal gyrus, ito pala, sorry, superior temporal sulcus, we can find there the angular gyrus. Okay? Trace nyo lang siya. Maka-identify nyo siya. And immediately, we can identify also, sabi ko sa inyo, the parieto-occipital sulcus is found here. And we also have this lobule here, the precuneus. Okay. Now, the parietal lobe, the major area that you can find here, posterior to the central sulcus of Rolando, is this one, class. So alam nyo na yung BA4, di ba? What's BA4? Primary motor. Diba? That's primary motor. What about that which is found posterior to the central sulcus of Rolando? It's called Brodmann area 312. Okay? Brodmann area 312 or BA 312. This is numbered class from rostral to caudal. Okay? Superior going inferiorly. So it is numbered as 312. Hindi 123. Huh? 312. That's Brodmann area 312, and it is assigned a function for reception of general sensations. Okay? Now, the same thing, contralateral sensory disturbances ito. And lesions in this area produces paresthesias, numbness. Okay? Yung mga tingling sensations sa inyong paresthesias, and also numbness on the opposite side of the brain. The same thing with the motor homunculus, ito yung pinag-usapan natin. Sensory areas also that are represented in the post-central gyrus are represented here also. And at the same time, class, pareho din sila. You note dito, note that the size of the cortical area that is assigned to each part of the body, take note of this, is this time, this is directly proportional to the number of sensory receptors present in that body part. So meaning to say, maraming sensations sa face, diba? Including the lips. So there are more sensory receptors that are found in these areas that are being represented in the post-central gyrus. Okay? Ito naman, depending on the skill. Diba? Hindi sa body mass. Ito, directly proportional with the number of sensory receptors. Okay, gising-gising. Gising-gising. Kung face-to-face tayo, nasa harapan niyo na ako sa upuan ninyo, no? Tinatapat ko na yung microphone sa inyo niya habang naghihilig kayo. Okay. So, the parietal lobe also, no? I mean, the primary somesthetic or sensory area, which is BA312, has an association area. And not very far from BA312, we can identify this association area, which is numbered as 5 and 7. Ito siya. Okay? So, yan siya. BA 5 and 7. And it is the somatosensory association area. It is believed that its main function is to receive and integrate different sensory modalities. Example, coin in a hand. Okay? Now, example niya. For example, this is a 5 peso coin, no? A 5 peso coin that is placed in the hand can be distinguished from a 1 peso coin, no? By its size, by its shape, by its feel of the coin, without having to use one's eyes. Yun yung example of a function of the somatosensory association area. Okay? So class, tingnan nyo to. This is 312. There's number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are found here. Hanggang dun lang. No? Kasi hindi ko na alam bakit naging 44 and 45 ang Brodmann area. Okay? But then the main parts here, yan. Nandito siya, no? Sunod yung number. Commercial break lang. Kasi si Gail yung talaga nakikita ko right now. Anak ko ang pagising, pero kanina pa ako nakatingin sa'yo. Kamukha mo pala si Julia ba? Natawa. Totoo, kanina pa kita tinitingnan niya sa PT. Papakita kita sa secretary namin mamaya. Anyway, may nagtawag na ba sa iyo, Julia Barreto? Ako. Oh, ako yun. So pretty, ha? Okay. Anyway, siya lang nakikita ko kasi pasensya na kayo, class. Talaga nakatingin ako sa iyo, Gail. You're so pretty talaga. Anyway, sige. Now, the secondary somatosense, nagising tuloy lahat ng tao, tinignan ka ngayon, Gail. O hindi biro ito, ha? I'm telling the truth. Okay, the secondary somatosensory cortex. Yan, factor. Sabi dyan, functional significance of this area is not understood. Where do you find it? In the superior lip daw of the posterior lip of the lateral fissure. Yan ang nakadrawing na dyan. Yung white area na yan. That is what we call the secondary somatosensory cortex. At sabi, the function or functional significance of this area is not well understood. Okay? Okay, done with parietal. Let's go to temporal. Mabilis na lang tayo. Pasensya na kayo. Medyo mahaba. Ang laki ng brain, no? Kaya medyo mahaba ito. Okay. The temporal lobe, it has three parts. No? The superior, middle, and then the inferior temporal gyral. Okay. BA 41 and 42. Nasaan yung 41 and 42 na yan? Yung green part na yan. Okay? That is what we call the primary auditory area. Madali naman tandaan, class, because and where is the ear located? Here. Where is the temporal area, temporal lobe located? Here. Dito yun. So, alam natin that it has something to do with auditory. So, PA 41 and 42 is known as the primary auditory area. Okay. Now, this portion here, we know that the anterior part, so this portion, the 41 and 42, is further divided into anterior and posterior part. The anterior part of this, of the primary auditory area, is concerned with the reception of sounds of low frequency. So yung anterior, it has something to do with the reception of sounds of low frequency, and the posterior part of this area is concerned naman with the sounds of high frequency. Okay? So yung green part na yan, BA 41 and 42, divide it into anterior and posterior parts. The anterior part is for low frequency sounds, and then the posterior part is concerned with the sounds of high frequency. Now, it says here that a unilateral lesion of the auditory area produces partial deafness in both ears. Partial deafness, but the greater loss is in the contralateral ear. Okay, this can be explained by the basis that the medial geniculate body receives fibers mainly from the organ of Corti in the opposite side, and some fibers on the same side. So pareho silang affected, but then let's say one area, let's say the right area is affected, both ears will be will produce partial deafness, but more of the opposite side. Okay, so that is BA 41 and 42. And not very far from that, we have BA 22, which is this area here that surrounds the green portion. That is what we call the secondary auditory area. It is known as the auditory association cortex, and it is for the interpretation of sounds. Okay, let's say you hear something, this area will interpret what you hear. Okay, Wernicke's area on the other hand is located in 22. Again, 22, and then we have 39 and 40. So these areas here. So in 22, if we look at this one, we can see that 22 is here. Okay, 39 and 40 is this portion here. So that is the Wernicke's speech area, but some areas of 22 as well. So that is what we call the Wernicke's area. Opposite to the Broca's area, this time is called the sensory or receptive speech area. And the Wernicke's area is located in the left dominant hemisphere. Okay? Actually, mas maganda without the left na dominant hemisphere na lang siya. But then sa libro, nakasulat talaga, it is located in the left dominant hemisphere. It permits the understanding of written and spoken language. Okay. Now, the Wernicke's area, a lesion on the Wernicke's area is called receptive aphasia. Okay? More precisely, this area allows you to string words together. Pinagsasama-sama nyo ang mga words together in complete and sensical sentences. Tandaan nyo, sensical, ha? So an easier way to remember the Wernicke's area, try memorizing this phrase. Wordy Wernicke's. Wordy Wernicke's. WW yan. No? So ibig sabihin nun na this area will allow you to talk sensically, to think sensically, to produce sensible sentences. Okay, but with the Broca's area unaffected pala, speech is unimpaired. So kung nagkaroon ng lesion sa Wernicke's, tapos yung Broca's is still intact, you can still talk. Pwede ka magsalita. Kaya lang, senseless na yung words mo na ginagamit. Okay? Ayan na nakalagay. Unaware of the meaning of words. Okay? And then, uses incorrect words, even non-existent words, and you are unaware of the mistakes. But if the Broca's is still intact, pwede ka magsalita ng magsalita. Okay? So pag yung professor ninyo o classmate ninyo, salita na walang sense, sabihin nyo na lang si Wernicke's na affected na. May sense pa naman ako, no? Kahit pa paano. Anyway, so this is just a probable nerve pathway that is involved in making a sentence. Okay? And repeating out loud. So the Wernicke's area, which is this portion here, no, permits the understanding of the written and spoken language. Enables a person to read a sentence, okay, understand it, say it out loud, no? Pwede masabi yan kasi yung larynx is involved, di ba? Since the Wernicke's, this area, no, it involves or represents somatic, visual, and auditory association. They all come together, no? It should be regarded as one area that is of great importance, yung Wernicke's area. Okay. So just head on, for you to understand which is Broca's, which is Wernicke's. When one is affected, what will happen? When the other one is affected, what will happen? Okay, so you just read on here. If the Broca's is affected, it's called non-fluent aphasia. Okay, kasi non-fluent, hindi ka na makasalita. Whereas if it's Wernicke's, it's receptive aphasia, hindi mo maintindihan. So the patient could be fluent as well. Let's go to the occipital lobe. This is very easy, no, compared to the other lobes. We have here the occipital lobe here. So between the parietal and the occipital, there is the parieto-occipital sulcus. This area is called the cuneus. We have here the calcarine sulcus and then the lingual gyrus here. Okay, the primary visual area is located. So ito klasa, the blue is representing the occipital lobe. And that area, which is called BA17, represents the primary visual area. So lesions may result in the following. Pakibasa na lang yan. Madali namang basahin yan, no? And then the common causes also, please read on it. Paano mangyayari na this one could be affected? Could be affected by vascular disorders, tumors, anything, no? That could injure this one. Injure, not endure. Now, the second visual area, nako, napakadaling tandaan. It surrounds number 17. It's 18 and 19. Okay? So what does this area do? It's the secondary visual area. BA 18 and 19, it recognizes and appreciates what a person is seeing. Okay? Okay. And the last lobe, insula. The insula is that area of the cortex that when you deflect, no, magdi-deflect itong area of the lateral sylvian fissure, you may observe the insula within siya. Okay? The fiber connections of this is incompletely known, but it is believed to be important in the planning or coordinating the articulatory movements necessary for speech. No? Probably nga, kasi it's important kasi it's very near the Wernicke's area as well. So it has something to do with speech. Pero hindi pa rin completely known yan. Okay, let's go now. Done na tayo sa lobes, ha? Lapit na tayo matapos. These are the different, what we call disorders of higher cortical function. And probably these have been taken up by in other subjects. Agnosia, what's agnosia? That is the inability to interpret sensations. Okay? So you are unable to recognize things typically as a result of brain damage. Okay? So yan yung agnosia. Failure to recognize stimuli perceived by the senses. First, we have visual agnosia. Ang nakalagay dyan, you can see the object, but you cannot identify it. Malungkot, no? Okay. So that is visual agnosia. But make sure, class, pag tinetest nyo yung pasyente, wala siyang visual defect in visual acuity. Yung palang pasyente mo, may katarata na pinakitaan mo ng susi. Ako si Lola, hindi ma-identify. Hindi pala, may cataract pala siya. Make sure that the patient can see. Okay? Now, there's also tactile agnosia, inability to recognize objects by touch. Auditory, failure to recognize what the patient hears with intact hearing. Okay? So, class, nakalagay dito, lesion is in the supramarginal gyrus. Yun ang nakalagay dyan. Okay? And then, auditory, lesion is in Brodmann area 22. Okay? Aphasia, nako, masyado ng gasgas sa atin ng kanina pa yun. No? Wernicke's and Broca's. Okay, remember Broca's, class, It's located where? In the opercular and triangular parts, no? Brodmann area 44 and 45. Na-memorize na ni Sir Hans. Tumatango na din si Sir Hans. No? Okay, apraxia. What is apraxia? No? It is a neurological disorder that is characterized by loss of the ability to execute or carry out skilled movements. No? Nakalagay dyan, inability to carry out learned purposive movements in response to stimuli that normally elicit them. Let's say, kailangan mo na magbihis, no? You cannot button up a shirt or you cannot tie shoelaces, no? These have been learned. These are purposive movements, but you cannot perform it. Okay? So that is what we call apraxia. Stereognosis is that inability to appreciate texture, size, and form. So what is this state? Ang tawag dyan, stereognosis actually. What is stereognosis? Concept of size, form, and texture. So the inability is called astereognosis. Okay? Let's say unable to recognize a key placed in a hand. Okay? Diba? So example yan. Kanina pinag-usapan natin siya when we were talking about the BA 312. Diba? And BA 5 and 7. Okay, so the sickness is called astereognosis. Consciousness, yan. Tanong ko sa section B, gising pa ba kayo? Kasi ang conscious, sabi dyan, is that state of being awake and aware of the self and surroundings. Si ano kaya? Si Andrea Castro, kasi nakikita ko pa dito pero wala siyang camera. It's okay, no? Nasa lethargy ka na ba? What is lethargy? Slow speech. Yung tipong pag-antok na kayo. Hindi. Slow speech, diminished, and slow voluntary movement. Lethargic. Your patient usually will come to the ER parang antok na siya. Ganon. Yan ang lethargy. Okay? The letter after F. No? So that's lethargy. Tawa naman kayo kahit konti. Okay. So, dali ha. May nag-message. Sana all daw. Bakit, Roy? Ano yung sinasana all mo dyan? Wait. Okay. So that's lethargy. Now, next to that is stupor. When the patient speaks with painful stimuli, VM stands for voluntary movement. No? So, there is little or spontaneous eye movement. Patient arrives in the ER, nakahiga na siya, stretcher bound, no? Paano nyo magsistimulate ng painful stimuli? Sasampalin nyo? Hindi, no? Itong fist nyo, no? Lagay nyo yan sa chest. Tatayo lang ako. Gaganon dito. Masakit yan. Gaganon niyo siya. If the patient is stuporous, patient will react but will go back to sleep. Okay? That's being stuporous. Pero pagka nagpapanggap lang yan, pag ginano nyo dito, apply a painful stimuli. Pag nagsabi ng aray or ouch, wala. Fake news. Na-fake news kayo ng pasyente nito. Okay? And lastly, class, under state of consciousness, coma. Talagang unconscious na yan. Unarousable. Okay? Lateralization. Okay. Anatomical examination of the two cerebral hemispheres will show that the cortical gyri and the fissures are almost identical to each other. And then also the nervous pathways that are projecting to the cortex, they are identical talaga. But in addition to this, yung corpus callosum, yung ibang pathways, they provide information to this on both sides. But again, nevertheless, if they are both equally identical to each other, one hemisphere is still dominant compared to the other. Okay? So, nakalagay dyan, higher functions such as this one, there's handedness, okay? Perception of language and speech are being controlled by the dominant hemisphere. So, how do you identify dominance in the hemisphere? It says here, 90%, more than 90% of adults are right-handed. So if you are right-handed, you have the left hemisphere as being dominant. Okay? And then, says here also, so ang left hemisphere dominance is actually 95% of the right-handed people. And for those left-handed people, which are less than 10% in the population, all of them, pagka left-handed ka, yung opposite side daw, yun yung dominant hemisphere mo. But, says here, that 75% of the left-handed people still have the left hemisphere as being dominant. Okay? So yan ha, tandaan nyo, handedness, perception of language, and speech are being controlled by the dominant hemisphere. So what does it say here? Perception of language, that's Wernicke's. Speech, that is Broca's. Okay. So the dominant hemisphere, sinabi ko na sa inyo ito. What about the non-dominant hemisphere? The non-dominant hemisphere has something to do with spatial perception, okay, recognition of faces, artistic skills like drawing and composing music. So going back to this, language dominance, it is believed that the two hemispheres of the newborn have equal or equipotential capabilities. So pantay lang sila. During childhood, one hemisphere slowly comes to dominate the other. But then this is only reached during the first decade of life. For example, this will explain, let's say, a 5-year-old child which has a damage on the dominant hemisphere can easily learn. Left side ko yan, na-damage yung dominant hemisphere niya, can easily learn to become left-handed or speak well, depende, because hindi pa na-develop yung dominance. But then, if this happens with an adult, this is almost impossible that the adult could speak well again. So, pagka bata, nagkaroon ng defect, pwede pa siya mag-aral, pwede pa maturuan kasi the dominance has not yet been fully developed. Okay? Okay. So, localization of cortical functions, as you can see, class, this has been included in my previous lectures. Kaya lang binawasan ko na. Okay? Para mas easier for you to understand. The frontal lobe, ito lang, dapat natin mga alamin. Okay? And then the parietal lobe is just 3, 1, 2. Yung mga tinuro ko pang iba under parietal lobe, include that also. Okay? Kaya lang yung taste, hindi natin napag-usapan. Pero syempre, sabihin ko, basta, may include in the questions. Yun lang yun. Hindi ko naman ikutin masyado siya. And then we also have in the temporal, it includes primary for hearing, also for understanding. Ito, Wernicke's yan. No? And lastly, occipital lobe. Dali lang nito, 17, 18, and 19. Okay. Now in conclusion, class, the cerebral cortex, no, it should be regarded as the last receiving station. Receives information from special senses such as the eyes, the ears, and then organs of general sensation. And the function of the cortex is to discriminate. Discriminate, hindi yung discriminate. Bawal dito ang ano, ganyan. Mga sexy lang dito, hindi ganun discriminate. No? It relates the received information to past memories. No? Sensory inputs, on the other hand, may be discarded, it may be stored, or it could be translated into action. So the interplay with all of these cortical and subcortical nervous connections could be under the cerebral cortex. Okay? So thank you, class. Tama na ang pagiging comatose ninyo. Gising na kayo. Conscious na dapat tayo. Okay? So yun lang naman. If there are questions, hindi ako mamimilit ng questions. Kasi parang, oy, gising pa. O Jason, gising ka pa? Ayos, si Roy, gising pa rin. Si Charlotte.